Welcome to Rough Realities and Revelations.
Hello, welcome.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I know how you are because we've been together
today.
So today is Neville's birthday, so we thought we would. There's a new enclosed dog park for hire.
New to us, anyway.
New to us, aye.
Yeah.
And so we thought it would be nice to take him somewhere different. Excuse me, hang out with Eric and his pal Blue. So yeah, we've done that. We've gone and explored, and then they've come to your house for the first time. It's been lovely.
Yeah.
And they've been well behaved.
It's been really good.
Thank God, because they're not always.
I know. I just said, well, I knew they'd be good because you're a dog trainer.
And I said, wah, wah, wah. Dog trainers, like cobblers' bairns, more like it. So yeah, but nah, they've been good.
Yeah, but it was good when we were thinking of something to do, like, you know, like something for us or something for them.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of that thing that was getting shared online like last week. It was something like dogs don't need more dog-friendly places. They need more opportunities to be dogs.
Oh, I love that. Be more dog.
Be more dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's so true.
I know, but it just got me thinking, like, everything in life now is geared up to just, like, take your dog everywhere and for your dog to be involved in everything that you do. But, you know, that might be in our best interest, but not necessarily the dog's. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think about this a lot nowadays because I think the landscape of dog ownership has totally changed.
Yeah.
I think our expectations of dogs have changed. I think
even just in like the last decade, like
massively,
so much.
Massively. If I look at some of the like online arguments within the different dog training styles, shall we say, and what people believe dogs should be exposed to, what should be happening, and one of the arguments within that is their dog reactivity and things is increased. And how shall we call them? We'll just call them the balanced community. It's a community that will provide more corrections within dog training rather than supporting the dog.
Yeah.
One of their main arguments is because there was a rise in positive training for quite a while, and therefore in their eyes they were like, oh, there was no consequences to anything, those dogs have never been hit, how do they know what's going on? Do you know what I mean? It's stupid. But I don't think it's as simple as that. I actually think it's a cultural problem.
Yeah.
As in our view of what the dog is expected to be able to tolerate, and also our expectations of what having a dog has changed so much that I completely see why reactivity is on the rise.
Definitely. And I read this article somewhere that was basically saying that dogs are not able now to evolve fast enough to keep up with what we're expecting of them.
Yeah. Oh, I totally understand that.
Because it has just been this massive shift, like in the last decade. Like, you know, when I first got Dodger, for example, so 2012, I got her. You know, there was no notion of, maybe you'd sit outside a pub or something with your dog.
Yeah.
But there was no notion of, going to somewhere that had like a dog menu that was geared up like all around dogs.
That only happens in Europe.
Europe
is a bit more progressive that way.
Yeah, or like, you can take your dog to John Lewis now. Like, why?
Why would your dog want to go shopping for handbags and
Exactly. So who is this for?
I don't think it's for the dog.
It's not for the dog.
And I think when you think about, so going way far back, initially, like when you had a dog, you very much socially, it was put upon you that you could not own a dog if the adults in the household all worked. That was a massive no. Like if the adults in the household had full-time jobs and that dog was going to be left in the house and blah blah, that was a big no. And so really people got dogs when they had time. Yeah. So they were at home, they didn't maybe one adult that excuse me. I better not be catching your hay fever.
Catching my hay fever.
Oh no, that'd be a nightmare. If there'd be one of the adults, because back in those days you had 2-parent homes and all that. It was very
I mean,
very
let's not
devolve
beat about the
into
bush.
that.
Mum was at home.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Mum was at home. The dog got walks. The dog didn't need to go anywhere. Didn't need to.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, people weren't eating out as much than that anyway.
Yeah.
But then as time's moved on, so I think what's happening now is, and I can't complain about this part because it gave me a 13-year career, but you can employ a dog walker. So it's not the same social, like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. Mm-hmm. It's, oh, well, I'll pay a dog walker. My dog will be taken out, which is great because their needs are being met. That's far better than leaving the dog at home for 8-9 hours at a time, no toilet breaks. Like, totally better. But what I'm sort of getting at is our lifestyles are busier now as well. So we're not exercising them appropriately, I don't feel. Yeah. We've got our work. Then we'll have it in our budget to employ a dog walker that can take our dogs out. If we've got young kids, I've been noticing a massive shift in how many like after school /sports /acting, dancing classes, like whatever it is. No longer is it enough just to have 1 or 2 of these things. The child's got to sign up for like about 5. Yeah. So that also means parents have got to ferry the children around. Yeah. Where does the dog fit in that? It's just kind of like, it's either assumed to come along for the ride, and then it makes me wonder, does the dog enjoy travelling about in a car, waiting in car park? Like, do you know what I mean? It's that sort of thing. There's been a total shift away from what they used to have. And of course, now it is,
I think some people enjoy bringing their dog to everything as well.
Oh, aye.
Like, we'll only go places that they can bring their dog.
Yes, aye.
But again, it's like, that's for them. It's not for the dog.
No, I would argue that one. I would play devil's advocate there. From the viewpoint of their human, that is for the dog. Because the dog would not be home alone. And I think that's how they'll, in their head, they'll be like, oh, my dog's coming with me. My dog has company. But then I think this is where the lines become blurred. And I think that's maybe what that article's getting at. Mm-hmm. If you said to your dog, we could go for a walk along the beach and spend time together, or a walk through the woods and spend time together, or you can come and
to John Lewis.
To John Lewis, and we'll go to a city park that is busy and bustly, but it's not very natural for you. Yeah. I think if we had Dr. Dolittle powers, I suspect the dogs would choose the beach and the woods and stuff like that.
Of course, it's going to be dog dependent. We are generalising.
Oh, aye.
Cousin Leo, he loved the post office. We're going to excellent. Let's go to the post office. Yeah. Whereas Blue, because he has to be like the main character in every story.
Yeah, absolutely is.
If it's not a story that's around him and him doing stuff that he wants to do, then he's not interested.
Yeah, no. It's not his.
So it is like dog dependent, but I just wonder how many people are repressing their dogs in order to make them fit into this lifestyle. Maybe repressing their natural behaviours in order to...
Yeah, they're not doing it maliciously, and they're not doing it to...
Because sitting, quietly in a cafe, that's great behaviour, but it's not natural behaviour for a dog.
No, it's not. It's not. I think that what I've noticed with people contacting me from a training perspective, I am finding I am now having to explain about a dog's basic needs, as in walks that they find fulfilling. Yeah. Like, I'm finding that just because a dog is out with you, so they're out of the house and they have an option for a toilet break. So this could be they're out with you, going to the shops, picking up messages, meeting up with a friend, having your coffee and that. So the dog is with you and is interacting with you. That's still not the same as fulfilling their actual needs.
Yeah.
So I am now coming across behavioural issues that are stemming from the dog isn't able to express breed outlets, the dog isn't getting enough physical, can't even say that word, physical exercise, in the sense that they're getting to run, they're getting a social interaction with another dog and getting to play with dogs. They're getting to visit places that they find stimulating and interesting, and they can go sniffing and they can be like a dog. They can go and dig in the woods or dig in the beach.
Sniffing,
running, chasing things, practicing.
Peeing on things.
Yeah, finding out, what's going on in the area around them. That's, excuse me, that is very different than just being outside all day.
Yeah.
And I'm finding I'm having to have this conversation more and more. And I can't quite put my finger on why.
It's like, when I always say, I'm not like outdoorsy, I'm outsidey.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't want to go trekking.
No.
But I want to sit outside at the cafe if that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
I want to go for a nice walk on a pavement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like outsidey, I'm not outdoorsy.
Exactly, and I'm outdoorsy.
Yeah, but dogs are definitely outdoorsy. Most dogs.
Most dogs are outdoorsy. Yeah.
But they're outdoorsy.
Yeah. So they would be. So I think most dogs feel like me when I'm put in situations like that. Yeah, it's nice for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But I'm bored now.
Yeah.
I want to go exploring. I want to go like walking through the woods, and I want to go looking at the birds. I want to go over different terrain. I want to go see. Well, in my youth, I would have climbed a tree. My knees nowadays say no. Mentally, I still want to climb a tree. But, so yeah, that's actually probably a very good way of describing it.
And if you think as well, like, how many messages do you get in a week about people who can't get their dog to settle, they want their dog to settle, and by that they mean in a cafe, at the pub, out and about doing stuff, want my dog to settle. And to me, again, that's, a great behaviour to have.
Yep.
But the reason it's tricky is because it's not a natural behaviour.
No, and I think it kind of goes over two things, right? So it goes over, because I see this a lot at when I go to dog agility shows, and I'll have a look at the dogs. So for people that haven't been to a dog agility show before, it is a bunch of people who've got together, and there's you have the camping area. So you have some people staying in tents, you have some people staying in caravans, and have some in motorhomes and camper vans. And what they'll do is they'll have fencing attached to whatever their bedroom facility is, we'll say.
Yeah.
And you have a mixed array of behaviours from dogs. So you have dogs that I think that have the not the right temperament, that's probably not quite the way to say it, but a more forgiving temperament where they kind of like that lifestyle. So they will just be lying in the garden. And then you have...
Or is it that they just have developed better coping skills?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I think sometimes it's an exposure thing. They have been doing it longer, so therefore the dog's like, oh, actually, this is quite nice. It's my little holiday. I'm quite chilled out, stuff like that. You got other dogs that are quite reactive at the fence line and bark a lot if people are walking past, and other dogs. And certainly, my lot, Neville, if he wakes up, he's definitely Mr. Alert system.
Yeah.
So when people go past our fence and he'd see them, he'd bark. And the more shows that we go to and the more often we're doing it, the less he's becoming reactive, because it's becoming normal and it's the thing. But then I find one of the big reasons about the whole settling things. So I watch these dogs, and I can't take the trainer hat off, and I'm working out the whys and what ifs and stuff. And usually, first day of the competition, that evening, everything's very quiet because the dogs have had a fulfilling day. The dogs have had an outlet. They've been doing their agility. They've been competing. It's been quite stimulating. So they're genuinely tired, and they're like, oh, actually, I can chill out. I quite like this. And usually the last day of the show, all the dogs are really chilled because they're like, I've been doing things. So I think it's a multi-strategy bit to get the dog to settle when you're out and about, in the sense that if you want to stop and sit on a bench, and watch the world go by, your dog will just lie at your feet and not bark at people going past and whatever. If you are out on a walk and you see a cafe and you think, oh, actually, I could do with a coffee, that would be quite nice, then yes, we have the expectation we want the dog to lie down. But for that to be achievable, one, we do need to teach the dog the behaviour of switching off. But then equally, we also need to have given that dog enough of an outlet that they're tired enough to actually settle.
Do
you know? Because that would be like, if we're out for the day, I would want to get the outdoorsy bit over and done with. Mm-hmm. So if we were doing something out for a walk, I would want to get the outdoorsy bit over and done with. So then if we want to stop, well, my usual, let's stop for lunch, Deb, let's stop for lunch. I will happily sit there longer outside, so you get your outside part.
Not outside part.
Yeah. Because I've had the outdoorsy bit settled in me. Whereas if we did it the opposite way about, you'll never see me eat so fast. And then I'll be like, right, we're ready to go. I'll be wanting to go because I'm like, I want to get to the outdoorsy part. Mm-hmm. So I think there has to be compromise. I think you have to allow your dog a more natural, normal dog outlet before you say we're going to do the human world thing, and then be like, sit there.
Yeah.
So I think there's lots of different stages to it, where is it? Then you sort of break it down to, is your dog the right dog for that type of thing?
I was just going to say that, like, there's some dogs that no matter how much work you put in and how much exposure they have, they're never going to be comfortable with that kind of lifestyle. And we spoke before on a podcast about putting a square dog into a round hole, and I think that's kind of where my concern comes from about all of these things. Like, a couple of months ago you could take your dog to get their photo taken with the Easter Bunny. And there's like a Santa, take your dog to see Santa.
It's just,
and then now it's like the summer's coming up. We've got all these dog events, dog shows, dog festivals, and a lot of dogs are going to find that really tricky and overwhelming.
Well, we see it. You have to talk me off the ledge when we go to these things, don't you?
Yeah.
Because the dog trainer in me's like, you're like, don't look. And I think, so I suppose that what I would love to raise, or for there to be more awareness about, is realising how you achieve what you want as the owner. So everybody gets a dog with a vision in mind of what's happening. But I think that also means you have to be open to being flexible about your plans, as in, yes, we need to teach the dogs the skill set of being in these places, expose them to these places, because you can't, I don't understand people who think, well, I would only ever take my dog with me to a restaurant or a cafe every 6 months and expect that dog to be able to settle and calm down.
Yeah.
It's always novel to them. It only happens twice a year. Why would you expect them to be chilled? Mm. So you do have to make an effort and go to these places. So there's an exposure element. So you need to expose your dog to these things. There's a training element where you have to teach the dog what you're wanting them to do in that situation and stuff. But then there's also, be honest with yourself. Have you actually given your dog everything that they needed to be able to give you what you want and what you need from them? And if that part's lacking, then guess what? The other bits are going to be lacking as well. And then I think you also have to have the flexibility of being able to say, do you know what? My dog does not have the personality to enjoy these things. Like, this isn't my dog. Mm. So I'm going to have to let go of that aspiration that I had. And that's okay. It happens. You don't know how your dog's going to turn out, really. I mean, you can do your research and stuff, but it's still you don't know really how it's going to pan out. But yes, we're definitely coming to that time of year where I physically see it more, but also I'm going to get more phone calls and emails about, I want to take my dog with me, but my dog barks at people. My dog barks when dogs come into same cafe, or
Yeah.
you know, they've got a terrible recall and they're eating all the picnics on the beach and, you know, all of that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the dog show one's an interesting one because that's very much a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
And so going back to the whole, well, if you only ever visit a restaurant once every 6 months, don't expect your dog to nail it and be able to be totally chilled and ignore people and not bark and not do anything because you haven't exposed them enough to it. So when we only have these show type environments, so because we have stands there, so we'll go along and we see these people, whether it's a breed show, whether it's a fun dog show or whatever it might be. It only happens 2 or 3 months within the year.
Yeah.
And then it's never again.
Yeah.
So really your dog does it 2-3 times, never again. So they're going to be more up to height. Like, when are they around lots of dogs, lots of people, exciting things going on, there's activities for the dogs to do that they've never done before. And if your dog isn't used to being around big numbers of dogs and people, that is really daunting. Yeah. I mean, there's loads of people. How many people have we caught going behind like our stall, and then they're like looking like, why are you behind? And they're just like that. It's just too busy. I just need a minute. Yeah, they just wanted to find somewhere quiet because as much as they're enjoying it, they're like, well, sensory overload. Yeah. So I think that that's a tricky one to replicate, though, the show part. Definitely. Like, I think that you have to just decide, is it fun? Like, is your dog going to want to go in for waggiest tail competition and stand with 15, 20 other dogs?
You know what? There's probably people listening thinking, well,
they're moany.
My dog, they're thinking, my dog loves going to John Lewis. My dog loves going to the dog focus cafe that has the dog menu.
Yeah.
And it just got me wondering, well, you know, how do you know? How do you know your dog loves it? Like, how do you know your dog loves something? And I think, and I think...
Because compliance and loving something is two different things.
Yeah. But take them down the beach and let them dig, like, they're loving it. You know, let them run about sniffing in the woods and stuff, like a spaniel off leash in the woods. You know, they're
loving it. You know, show golden retriever a muddy puddle. Yeah, it's just like they're all over it and loving it. So, but
that's because those are natural dog behaviours.
Yeah, and I think there's room for everything, and I think there's room for there is definitely a portion of dogs who love the attention when they're out and about. They love being like, oh God, you're in John Lewis that, and people are like, what's that dog? What's a dog?
Poor John Lewis. It's just because I've read that they're dog friendly now. That whole
I know
complex says that whole St James Quarterly is dog friendly.
I don't know if it's just because I've always had boy dogs, but I would be so worried they would piss on the clothes. I'd just be like, no, my dog's not peeing indoors. They haven't ever done that. Yeah. But they just might if I took them in John Lewis. Like, that would just be embarrassing. Do you know? I would just march out of there and walk of shame. There'll be a portion of, so let's not forget, there's going to be a portion of dogs who have genuine separation distress issues and can't be left. Yeah. So this is perfect for them because they get to come with their human and it's absolutely fine and it's great. You'll have some dogs who, to be honest, let's not kid ourselves, the elderly dogs, they didn't mind about that usually because they're just with their human. They're probably getting carried. Like, I'm thinking of small dogs here. Yeah. They'll weather it because they'll be like, it's all right. I think the ones that will struggle are very young dogs, so that under 3 kind of thing, where they're still learning how things work and what the boundaries are. And again, this goes back to, well, how much training are their humans giving them? How much time are they investing? Because our humans just thinking a magic wand will come along called age and go, they'll grow out of it. Ting with the magic wand.
Can I reach and put my cup down?
Yeah. And then are they, or is this person going in with an actual plan? Because I'm like you, I don't know why your dog would have to come into an actual clothing shop with you. No. I can understand your dog coming with you. You know, for example, we've been to the country parks and they've had like a little shopping bit.
Yes.
I can understand that, right? But guess what? The dog was probably had to walk first and got to be a dog.
Yeah.
And then it got to come in.
Yeah.
And so I think, yes, there's a bit for everybody, but what I'm finding, going by the questions people are asking me and the behaviours are asking me to deal with, I think we are forgetting that dogs need genuine exercise, genuine outlets to be a dog. Like so many people I speak to now, a lot of their walks consist of walking around the housing estate that they live in, because a lot of housing estates now have grassy areas, but predominantly pavement walks. They'll get off at this one grassy bit and then in home. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think that sounds very fulfilling for the dog.
No, and it's back to repressing those natural behaviours again as well. Because, you know, if they want to stop and sniff something, they're probably just pulled away from it.
Yeah.
If they want to go ahead, they're probably, you know, brought back. You know, everybody's got to be on a loose leash and walk next to you. And not, you know, I think though, I don't know, my approach is quite lax probably. I'm just like, in a lot of things, I'm just like, man, well, it's a dog. You know, if he wants to walk in front of me and go in a bush and whatever, I'm just like,
I know,
whatever.
You'll be one of those people where the dogs have had like a little handbag at dawn moment and you'll be like, nah, they'll sort it out. Dogs are dogs. And again, I think there's an element of truth in that because I don't believe that, you know, dogs who pull on the lead or dogs who walk ahead, they're not doing it out of like a Machiavellian sense of fucking I'm going to take over the world sort of thing. They're just being a dog. They're going, I can walk faster than you. I want to get to that interesting scent. And you just haven't taught them to go, actually, do you know what? If you want to get to something, you need to ask me and then I'll take you. And the folk haven't done the work. It's not, the dog's not planning world domination doing that.
Yeah, I know. And I know, like, you know, a big part of your job is teaching loose leash walking.
It is.
Probably
that's all I ever teach.
You're probably turning in your grave right now.
No, but again, it's
you know, I feel like the walk's not for me. So do you know what I mean? If he wants to go off that way or off this way, I just trot around behind him. And actually, a couple of nights ago, it was really funny. We had like a 20-minute route round here. We done it in 8 minutes because he was like, I just want to do it really fast tonight. So I just trotted along behind him. Right, all right.
Like, and I think there's room to do both. I think there's room to do. I personally think that when you're on your walks, you're there on your walk together. Is what I think. So I think there should be a bit of give and take that will allow the dog to partake in activities that are dog-like. So like you're saying, if you're walking and your dog's stopping to sniff, the amount of people that I see then go, come on, and they're cheering the dog on because they want to do the walk in a certain amount of time, they want to hit their step target. And I'm like, your dog wanted to sniff and pee there. Like, why wouldn't you, like, just G them on? Yeah. But then I see the opposite end of the spectrum as well, where people just let the dog completely do what they want on a walk. And then when the human tries to interact with the dog and asks the dog something, the dog's like, you're still here.
Yeah, that's me and Blue. Though you saw that today.
There's no connection there because you've kind of went
to be fair, he does check in. If
he does that
to check in, but
it's sort of like a bit like a wee bit skewed.
Yeah.
But I then think that it's like everything. There just needs to be a balance, and I think that we do seem to be losing. Not only are we physically losing some great spots to so many new house builds and like, I don't know, other buildings going up and stuff like that. It's not just houses, there's other things happening. So we're losing the spaces we have, but then at the same time, we weirdly are making some conscious decisions not to take the dog there at all.
Yeah.
And not do anything with the dog that, because it's going back to your point about dogs are not evolving fast enough for our changes. So a lot of dogs still have what they were originally bred for.
Yeah.
So, you know, they want to go and retrieve things. They want to go and chase and hunt things. They want to go and herd things. So when you don't give them those outlets and expect them to be essentially a model citizen in a heavily human part of the world, I just don't think you can have the two.
Yeah.
You just can't have the two.
So do we need to be breeding a dog then that's just for shopping malls and cafes?
Yeah.
Like, and that's their
natural
breed instincts.
Yes. Because I think because honest to God, if that's what you want from a dog, that's absolutely fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want I mean, yes, we have the companion breeds.
Yeah.
That essentially, like back in the days, if there were such a thing as the shops and stuff, those companion dogs would absolutely be going to them.
Yeah.
But
totally. But Blue is a companion breed.
He didn't get the memo though, did he?
Didn't get that memo.
He's a rough, tough
and that's
guy.
the thing. They're still dogs. So even if they do love going to, the shops and the cafes.
Black quite likes getting a puppuccino, doesn't he?
He just loves a puppuccino. But if he had the choice, he would rather go in the woods.
Yeah, he would want a wee cabin in the woods selling puppuccino.
Yes. Yeah.
Is what he's wanting. And I think I could just see him. He would love that, actually.
Yeah. Because he has the choice. He decides where we walk. Every time we leave this house, he decides where we go walking, and he knows where the cafe is that sells the puppuccinos.
Yeah.
But he would always choose the woods.
Yeah. And that's fine, because certain areas will float dogs' boats more than others.
But I think that's the thing to remember, is that they're still dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so when you're taking them to, because I'm thinking, we spoke about coming to dog shows, and like there's you'll have all like your village dog shows and stuff like that. And I don't want anyone thinking we are saying never take your dog to that. I think some dogs absolutely love it. Some dogs love meeting the other dogs that are there, and the chances are you're probably going with friends. But I think be more realistic about your expectations of how your dog's going to do. Mm-hmm. Like if you've never, if you don't do that a lot, then expect your dog to probably pull you around more.
Yeah.
Expect your dog to get more excited and maybe bark more than they ever bark. Expect your dog to probably get quite ratty after an hour or so of it. So maybe think about taking them out of it for like a little walk somewhere quiet and come back in.
Yeah.
And do stuff like that. But don't expect them to just be completely chill and lie on the grass and watch things go by. And because everybody's up to high-do, because it signifies summer as well. I think that's another thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's excited because it is summer.
Yeah. Well, I think then the moral of the story then is that, you can take your dog to dog-friendly places, but also you should give them ample opportunity to be a dog. Yeah.
Because I think we're losing that, if I'm honest with you. I think we're losing that. The conversations I've had lately, I honestly feel like I'm talking about stuff that we did in the 80s and 90s. Exercise your dog more. I think people think because they've just got them outside, the dog should be tired about that. But it's like, have you went for an actual walk with your dog? Like, has your dog been able to run? Has your dog been able to dig? Has your dog been able to play with another dog? Because, especially the younger dogs, a natural thing is to be sociable and to play and to not manically play, but have they done all that? And these people are like, oh yeah, we don't do that very often. And I was thinking, what kind of weird world is that for a dog?
Yeah.
But it seems to be the world that we're turning into.
Absolutely.
Which is...
And, the only reason we've got 3, quietly settled dogs.
I know, because you guys can't see these 3.
Yeah, because they're so settled.
They're sleepy time.
It's because they've been given ample opportunity to be dogs today.
Yeah.
And express those natural doggy behaviours.
Yep. They did. They had a good time doing it as well. And it was lovely it's lovely to watch them.
Yeah.
To do it. And I think it improves your bond. So I think it's because I will say, because some people are like, oh, well, if I want my dog to play with other dogs, I just send them to daycare. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about get out and be outdoorsy. Get out to the woods, get out to the beach, get out to...
I mean, even I go to
the
woods.
You do. You hate it, but you go there because of the bugs. Like the midges and...
I hate bugs.
But you do, you make yourself, you go. And that's the compromise.
I hate the mud.
You do hate all that. You would definitely be a
I hate
streetwalker.
having dirty shoes.
Yeah, you like a pavement walk.
And so that's why I let him do what he wants, because it's not for me. Like, I
No,
have
yeah.
no interest in
Aye.
being there whatsoever.
Yeah.
So,
Which, yeah, and it's right, but then he's happy because of it.
yeah.
And he's not showing, you're not then getting a fallout of that suppression
Yeah.
where the dog becomes frustrated because they don't get to have a natural outlet. So no, I do feel dog ownership these days is like a compromise.
Definitely.
Like, we have to compromise some of the things that, maybe isn't high up on our list, i.e. going to those kind of places that you don't want to go, or making that extra time when you've already got a bazillion things to be doing as it is. But then the dog does need to learn to compromise, to be like, well, you can't have it your way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I would like you to come with me, but I need you to lie down quietly whilst I either chat to somebody or we sit here, or, I don't want you barking your head off when we go to a dog show. And like, it's all that sort of thing. So what I would love to know is how to raise more awareness around all this.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely getting lost.
Definitely. But people could share our podcast.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yeah, share the podcast, people.
Share the podcast.
Share the podcast. Tell your friends to allow your dog to be more dog.
Yeah.
Make better research choices as well on what breed you're getting and what it's actually for. Because a high energy working dog like a cocker, doesn't particularly want to constantly do street walks and go around John Lewis.
I know, we're going to get sued by John Lewis.
I know. Could you imagine? I would die if I saw a cocker. I don't think a cocker person would take their dog in John Lewis.
No.
I don't think they would. But that's how stupid it gets. So that's the thing. And I think, cockers can do these things, but cocker absolutely needs another outlet.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what you would aspire your lifestyle to be, like you, for example, would never have a cocker. Because you know that there's no way you want to do their type of walks, and they wouldn't get breed outlets and stuff like that.
I've not got the energy or the patience.
No, you wouldn't.
Any kind of spaniel.
No. But whereas, companion dogs, that's more your cup. Except you got one that never got the memo.
I think he's part spaniel.
I think he is. He's got someone else in there.
Yeah.
Aye, it's hilarious.
I know.
He's hilarious. But yeah, so have a think, peeps. Share this one. Let us know how we can raise awareness on that issue so we have more happy dogs.
Yeah.
Excellent. Nice to see you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye for now.